All right, so the Ivermectin COVID-19 saga is continuing, and in a pretty unfortunate way, as it seems like, at least according to the reporting that we're about to get into, that an Arkansas jail has been forcibly, or at the very bare minimum, coercively giving inmates ivermectin as a use for a treatment for COVID-19, completely against FDA guidance, completely against even the guidance of the company that produces ivermectin, which we're going to get into both of those in a second here. But let's just read some of the details in this story, because this is absolutely fucking crazy, okay? Quote, they said they were giving us vitamins. Inmates in Arkansas jail say they were unknowingly given ivermectin to treat COVID-19. So, an Arkansas doctor under investigation for prescribing an anti-parasite drug called ivermectin to jail detainees with COVID-19, even though federal health officials specifically warned against it, has said that those patients took the drug willingly. Okay. But several inmates at Washington County Jail say that that is not the case and that they were in fact given the pills with no indication of what they really were. CBS News spoke with 29-year-old Edric Florio-Wooten over the video call from the jail on Friday. After testing positive for COVID-19 in August, he said that he and other inmates went to a pill call and were given several pills with the explanation that it would help them get better, and he and others asked repeatedly what the pills were. So again, telling them that it's going to get better because of ivermectin is already a straight up blatant lie. Okay, so the jail at the very bare minimum was lying to them about what the treatment was actually going to do to them, right? And so he says they said that they were vitamins, steroids, or antibiotics. He told CBS News, we were running fevers, throwing up, and diarrhea, and so we figured that they were there to help us. We never knew that they were running experiments on us, giving us ivermectin. We never knew this. So, the Tuskegee experiments, which if you don't know, go ahead and look them up. Basically, it was the U.S. government was experimenting primarily on African Americans with some drugs. And so, basically, this has been used as a justification by conservatives to say that the new COVID-19 vaccines made by Pfizer, Moderna, etc., are the modern day Tuskegee experiment. And I think that's a false comparison here, because it's an entirely different situation, and we actually do have data and evidence supporting these vaccines and their efficacy. But, it has been disingenuously used by conservatives to rally against the vaccine, while simultaneously being a pretty good justification for a lot of African Americans in this country to be hesitant to take the vaccine, right? But if there was ever going to be an actual accurate comparison to the Tuskegee experiments, it would be something like this, right? I mean, they're giving prisoners an unverified and untested drug to treat COVID-19 when it's a drug that's used for something completely different than COVID-19. It's used to treat parasitic infections. So there's no evidence or data, which we're going to get into from the FDA and from Merck, but there's no suggestion whatsoever from medical professionals that this should be used to treat COVID-19, and there can be disastrous consequences for people who take them, especially in higher dosages than are supposed to be given to humans. But they continue saying ivermectin is only approved by the FDA for human use to treat parasites, and in some cases, head lice and rosacea. It is not an antiviral drug, and the FDA has repeatedly warned against using it to treat or prevent COVID-19. But misinformation promoting the drug on social media has fueled its use, and large doses of the drug can, quote, be dangerous and cause serious harms. The agency has said overdose symptoms may include diarrhea, dizziness, and nausea, among other things. So it's really not worth it. I mean, get the fucking vaccine. It's cheaper, it's literally free, and you can get it anywhere at any of your local CVS's or pharmacies or whatever the fuck you want to go to. Go get the vaccine. It's a lot simpler than taking this unproven medication that is produced by Big Pharma too. So even if you're a skeptic of Big Pharma and you don't like the vaccines, why the fuck would you trust this other product that is also produced by Big Pharma? It doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, all of the medical professionals are telling you this is not used to treat COVID-19 in any way. So it's just a completely ridiculous situation. But, if you don't want to experience these symptoms, then go ahead and get the vaccine. It's a lot easier. But they continue saying that he and other inmates were not aware that jail nurses were giving them ivermectin until about 5 days after receiving the pills. And even then, inmates, they said that he can't see what's in the medications because the pills are pulled out of a drawer that has dozens of bottles. And the only reason that they found out, he said, is because of news reports that Dr. Rob Karras, the jail's physician, was prescribing the drugs to detainees and others. So they didn't even know until this news story broke. Okay, so that's how much they were actually kept in the dark. And, quote, from that point forward, they finally gave us the consent if we would like to take the pill or not, he said, adding that roughly 20 other inmates then turned down the pill. So again, they obviously were not giving them the full information as to what they were giving them to treat COVID-19, and simultaneously telling them this will make you feel better. So they were blatantly lying to them and basically experimenting on them. And he says, Quote, "It was not consensual. They used us like an experiment, like we're livestock," he told CBS News. "Just because we wear stripes and make a few mistakes in life doesn't make us less of a human. We got families, we got loved ones out there that love us." And he's absolutely correct. I mean, listen, it's not just this one situation that is emblematic of how ridiculous and rapacious our prison and jail systems are here in the United States. I mean, just as one anecdotal example in this situation is that, Julian Assange, which I've talked about extensively on this channel, he was actually prevented from being extradited to the United States months ago by a British judge. And the reason that he was not allowed to be extradited to the United States to go to prison here was specifically cited by the judge in the case. The reasoning was the U.S. prison system is so barbaric and backwards and horrible that they could not be confident that they could extradite him to the United States, have him go to a U.S. prison, and that his life would not be jeopardized because of the horrific barbaric conditions of the U.S. prison system. So it's just a completely ridiculous backwards system that we have here. And again, I'm sure you guys all know the statistics, but again, the U.S. has about 4 to 5% of the world's total population and about 22 to 24% of the world's prison population. So we're imprisoning more than any other country throughout the entire history of the world, and we're obviously not providing them with sustainable or good quality conditions while we're doing that. So it's a completely ridiculous situation. But just to give you a reminder on what ivermectin is in and of itself, here's what you need to know about ivermectin according to the FDA. So the FDA has not authorized or approved ivermectin for use in preventing or treating COVID-19 in humans or animals. Ivermectin is approved for human use to treat infections caused by some parasitic worms and head lice and skin conditions like rosacea, and currently available data do not show ivermectin is effective against COVID-19, and clinical trials assessing ivermectin tablets for the prevention or treatment of COVID-19 in people are ongoing. So again, I wish that ivermectin was an actual treatment that could better people's symptoms or experience with COVID-19. It's just the data is not there. And if the data is there in the future, as they say, trials are ongoing. So there is a potential in the future that I could be making a video saying, okay, now we do have the evidence. We do have the data that says this can make marginal improvements with people's experience with COVID. But guess what? That data does not exist right now. That evidence is not here. It's not on the table. So people who are doing this are doing so counter to what the evidence and data are telling them to do right now. So there's really no excuse. It's not complicated at all. We know what this is actually supposed to be used for, and it's not supposed to be used for COVID-19 under the current scientific evidence and data that we have right now. So it's that simple. But even if you didn't trust the FDA and you think, oh, there's some big powerful institution and you don't like big pharma, well, here's the other big pharma company that is producing this medicine, Merck. Okay, so here's what Merck, the actual company that would stand to profit from conservatives in engaging in taking ivermectin at a large scale, or prisons using it, etc. They actually have a profit motive to keep people using it, and even they are coming out and saying this: there is no scientific basis for a potential therapeutic effect against COVID-19 from preclinical studies. There is no meaningful evidence for clinical activity or clinical efficacy in patients with COVID-19 disease, and there is a concerning lack of safety data in the majority of studies. So listen, the FDA is saying, don't take this for COVID-19. The company that produces ivermectin is saying, don't take this for COVID-19. The horses who now cannot get their ivermectin horse paste treatment are saying, stop using my fucking drugs and stop using ivermectin and go get the fucking vaccine. I mean, literally everybody under the sun should be able to understand the situation as it is, and somehow we still have prisons, actual jails like the one in Arkansas, that are forcibly or at least coercively giving this to inmates, okay? It's a completely unproven treatment for COVID-19, and these people are putting people's lives in jeopardy by forcing them to take it. It's despicable, disgusting, but here we are in the year 2021 with conservatives leading the charge on some of these propaganda efforts led by, conservatives, whether it's Tucker Carlson or the entirety of Fox News or Donald Trump or any number of these other conservative propagandists who are going out there and spreading misinformation about this drug. It's simple. The data is not there. Don't take this as a treatment for COVID-19. Just go get the fucking vaccine.